The stars outside the window of the Hopewind moved slowly as the ship traveled through deep space. Ethan Brooks stood in the hallway of the medical bay, looking at the report in his hand. He was a young doctor, only recently assigned to the United Planetary Assembly mission. His job was simple: help whoever needed help. Today was different. They had received a distress signal from a damaged alien ship drifting near the edge of the Orion Belt. The signal was weak and full of static, but it was clear someone needed help. Captain Laura gave the order, and the crew changed course. When the Hopewind reached the alien ship, the damage was worse than they expected. Fire marks along the hull. Life support systems failing. No response from the control room. A team of medics and security boarded it. Ethan followed them, unsure of what he would find. Inside the ship, the air was thin, lights flickered. They found bodies. Some were still breathing barely, most were not. But in the last chamber, behind a locked door, they found her. She lay on a crystal bed, surrounded by machines that no one on Hopewind could understand. Her skin was pale, almost glowing. Her hair silver, long and smooth like silk. Eyes opened slowly as the door opened. She was alive, but just barely. Her name was Alira. Ethan checked her pulse. Weak, her breathing shallow. The machines around her were failing. They moved her to Hopewind quickly. The medics did what they could, but her body rejected every kind of treatment. Her blood type was unknown, no match from any known species. Ethan stayed with her. He ran tests again and again. On the third test, he saw something strange. His own blood sample showed a weak but possible match. No one could explain why. Maybe it was luck. Maybe it was something more. He knew the risk, the captain warned him. The crew watched in silence as Ethan prepared the transfusion. He sat beside her, his hand steady. The machine beeped as the blood moved from him to her. For a moment, nothing happened. Then her heart rate changed. Her skin warmed. The monitor showed signs of life returning. Slowly, her eyes opened. She looked at Ethan, confused, scared but alive. The next few hours were full of questions. Who was she? What was her ship doing so far from her home planet? Why did his blood help her? No one had answers. Alira could barely speak, her voice soft and broken. Ethan didn't leave her side. He watched as her wounds healed faster than expected. As her skin changed color slightly, her energy signature was not the same. Some said it was his blood. Some said it was something ancient inside her, waking up. But deep down, Ethan knew this was only the beginning. Outside, in the black space beyond the windows, other ships moved. Other species had heard the same signal. Not all of them came to help. Alira slept in the medical bay, her breathing steady. Ethan sat near her bed. He looked at the stars again, wondering what would happen next. He had only tried to save a life. But something bigger had started. Something he didn't understand yet, but he felt it. A change. He looked at her. She looked peaceful now, safe. He hoped it would last. But in space, peace was never easy. The alarm sounded. A message appeared on the main screen. Unknown ship approaching. Weapons detected. Ethan stood up. Peace was over. He looked back at Alira one more time. She was not just an alien girl anymore, and he was not just a doctor. He didn't know it yet. But this was the moment he became something more. A symbol, a key, a legend. And it had only just begun. The ship shook as the enemy vessel drew closer. Lights flickered. Alarms echoed through the halls of the Hopewind. Ethan ran to the command center. Captain Laura stood in front of the main screen, arms crossed, face tense. The enemy ship was large, black, and armed. They tried to send a message. No reply came. The enemy stayed silent. Their weapons began to charge. Ethan turned to the captain. He told her Alira was stable but not ready to move. The captain nodded. She ordered shields up and all engines ready. The crew prepared for the worst. In the medical bay, Alira woke again. Her strength had grown. She sat up, her eyes glowing faintly now. A strange light moved under her skin. She asked for Ethan. He came quickly, worried she had weakened. But she stood up. Her voice was stronger. She asked about the ship outside. Ethan told her the truth. She looked at the wall screen and saw the enemy vessel. Her face grew cold. Alira placed her hand on the screen. She whispered something in her language. The room lights flickered again. Ethan stepped back. The monitor showed a strange energy rising from her body. The captain called for Ethan. He rushed back to the bridge. The enemy ship had launched a probe. It scanned the Hopewind. Then it turned away. No attack came. No message followed. The enemy ship drifted away and vanished into deep space.
Oh well.
No one could explain why. Some thought the enemy saw something inside the Hopewind that made them stop. Others thought they were just watching. Later that day, Alira walked into the science lab. The crew stared. She was different now. Her skin had color, her movements graceful, but strong. The machines could barely read her vital signs. Dr. Malik ran new tests. Her cells were changing. Ethan's blood had done more than heal her. It had awakened something deep inside her DNA. Her body now held a mix of human and Elvarian code. No one knew what that meant. The records showed the Elvarians had ancient powers, long lost over time. Myths spoke of star singers and lightwalkers, but those were only stories. Lyra looked at Ethan. She said it was no story. She felt it. Something old had returned, and it had begun with his blood. The United Planetary Assembly sent a message. They ordered Hopewind to return to a neutral zone. The Elvarian Council had demanded the return of Alira. They said she was important to peace, but Alira refused. She said her people had changed, that they would use her power for control. She wanted time. She wanted to understand what she was becoming. Ethan supported her. So did Captain Laura. But the message from the council was clear. They were sending ships to retrieve her, with or without permission. Hopewind changed course. They entered a quiet system with no colonies. It was cold and empty, a hiding place. For now, Ethan sat with Alira each day. She told him stories about her world, about her mother, the Empress, about how she had dreamed of change but had been too weak to lead. Now she felt strong. Now she felt ready, but the future was unclear. The signals from space grew louder. More ships were moving. More eyes were watching. Ethan looked out the window again. The stars did not feel safe anymore. It felt like open eyes. He wondered what his blood had done, not just to her, but to the galaxy. He knew one thing. He could not walk away now. Whatever was coming, he would face it. Not as a doctor, but as something more. The Hopewind floated in the dark corner of space. Cold stars blinked in the distance. The crew worked quietly. No one spoke of the messages coming in. Ships were moving. Some had names they knew. Some were unknown. Ethan walked through the halls. He had not slept much. Every day Alira changed more. Her skin now held patterns that shimmered like silver glass. Her voice could change pitch in strange ways. Her body healed faster than before. She trained in the cargo bay. She moved fast. She lifted heavy boxes with ease. The crew watched but said nothing. Fear was growing. Captain Laura met with Ethan in the briefing room. She told him the truth. The assembly was worried. They had seen the scans. They believed Alira was no longer safe. They had ordered the Hopewind to hand her over to the Elvarian fleet. It was on the way. Ethan shook his head. He knew what they wanted. Not peace, control, power. Alira had become something new, something rare, and everyone wanted a piece of it. Alira stood at the edge of the viewing deck. She watched the stars with quiet eyes. Ethan joined her. She turned to him and said she had made a choice. She would not run. She would not hide. She would go back, but not to give up. She would go to lead. Ethan told her it was dangerous. She said she knew. She said that if she disappeared, they would use her name to control others. If she returned, they would have to face her power. Later that night, the enemy came. 2 stealth ships appeared without warning. Their weapons hit the Hopewind before shields could rise. The ship shook. Lights burst. Smoke filled the halls. Security teams moved fast. The crew fought back. Ethan ran to the medical bay. He found Alira already there, waiting. Her hands glowed with strange light. She walked through the smoke like it was air. The walls shook again. More blasts hit. Ethan followed her, confused and afraid. They reached the engine room. A team of soldiers in dark armor stood there. They were not from the assembly. Not from the council. Their badges were strange. Unknown. One soldier raised a weapon. Alira raised her hand. A wave of light pushed him back. The others stepped away. She walked forward. No one stopped her. The invaders ran. They left fast. Ships jumped away. Silence returned. Ethan stood in the broken hallway. He looked at her. She had not used a weapon. She had used something else. Power will. Something old and deep. Captain Laura came. She saw the damage. She saw Alira standing tall. She made a choice. She sent a message to the assembly. Hopewind would not follow the last order. They would escort Alira to her homeworld, but only under her own terms. The reply was cold. A warning. Hopewind would be alone. Alira thanked the captain. Then she turned to Ethan. She said his blood had done more than save her. It had changed the course of many lives, maybe even the galaxy. He didn't know what to say. He was just a doctor. She smiled and told him that was why it mattered. The Hopewind changed course again. This time toward Elvaris Prime. The stars outside seemed closer now, but danger waited. The Hopewind moved through a quiet sector near the ice moon of Relin. Thick fog from nearby gases wrapped around the ship. The crew stayed alert. Everyone knew it was not safe. No part of space was safe anymore. Ethan sat in the lab, going over the latest scans. Alira's cells had changed again. They were stronger now, more active. Her body gave off a low hum, like silent energy flowing through her veins. Ship systems picked up the signals every time she walked by. Captain Laura called a meeting. The crew gathered. She showed them a map. Several ships were coming toward them. Not from the Council, not from the Assembly, but private war fleets, unknown groups, pirates, mercenaries, maybe more, all looking for the girl who had become something rare. They had only one choice: reach Elvaris Prime and let Alira speak to her people. She could lead them. Maybe they could stop the war before it began. The ship moved into the shadow of the ice moon. It was large and cold, covered in white mist. They planned to hide there just long enough to charge the jump drive. But they were not alone. A fleet of dark ships came from the far side. They'd been waiting. The first shots hit the Hopewind's rear hull. The engines shook. Lights went out. Ethan rushed to the control room. Alira was already there. Her eyes glowed faintly. She placed her hands on the power grid panel. The lights returned. The ship held steady. The crew fought back. Drones were sent out. Defense turrets fired. But the enemy ships were fast. One by one, the Hopewind shields began to fail. Alira stepped forward. She said she could help. She asked the captain to trust her. There was silence. Then the captain nodded. Alira walked to the main deck. She stood near the front window. Outside, the enemy ships moved closer. Alira raised both hands. The ship's power core responded. A wave of light burst from the hull. For a moment, everything stopped. The enemy ships paused. Their systems crashed. One of them turned and drifted off. Another spun out of control. Alira had sent out a pulse of raw energy. No one knew how. The crew used the chance. Engines charged. They jumped away. Now they were close. Elvaris Prime appeared in the window. A beautiful blue and silver planet, covered in clouds and glowing rivers of energy. Home to the Elvarians. But also the place where many wanted Alira dead. The Hopewind sent a message. They were here. They asked for safe landing. No reply came. Alira said she must go alone. Ethan said he would not let her. She smiled and said he had no choice. They landed in a valley of silver trees. Alira walked out first. A group of Elvarian guards stood waiting. Their faces were cold. They did not bow. One of them stepped forward, asked who Ethan was. Alira said he was the one who saved her life. The one who gave blood when no one else could. The guard said it made no difference. Alira said it made all the difference. The guards took them to the capital. Tall towers reached into the clouds. Lights moved across the sky. It was a city of beauty and danger. The council chamber was quiet. Old leaders sat behind crystal tables. They asked why she returned. She said she came to lead. They laughed. She raised her hand. The room filled with light. They stopped laughing. Ethan stood beside her. He was not sure what would happen next. But he knew one thing. She was not the same girl they found dying in space. And he was no longer just a doctor. They had become something more. Together. The council chamber was silent. The light from Alira's hands still glowed across the glass walls. No one spoke. No one moved. Even the oldest of the council, who had seen many wars, looked afraid. Alira stepped forward. Her voice was calm. She told them she did not come to beg. She did not come to follow old rules. She came to take her place as leader, not just by name but by right. One council member stood. He said she was not the same. She had changed. That she was no longer pure Elvarian. Alira nodded. She said change had saved her life. Change had shown her the truth. The room was divided. Some wanted to hear more. Some wanted her removed. Outside the chamber, the people of Elvaris gathered. They watched the broadcast on sky screens. They saw her face. They heard her voice. They remembered her. Ethan stood at her side. He said nothing. He felt out of place, but she had asked him to stay. She said the people needed to see who had saved her, who had changed her fate. Then the power in the room flickered. A message came in. A large fleet was approaching the planet. Ships with no flags, the same ones that attacked the Hopewind, the same ones that had followed Alira through space. Panic filled the chamber. Council guards rushed to lock doors. Leaders shouted orders. Alira stayed calm. She asked for a single ship. She would go to the enemy. She would speak for her people. They called her mad. They said it was suicide. She looked at Ethan. He gave a small nod. He would go with her. The council had no time to argue. The fleet was almost in orbit. Alira and Ethan left the city in a fast craft. They rose into the sky. The stars above looked cold and full of danger. The enemy ships did not fire. They let the small craft approach. Inside the main ship, Alira stood before the enemy leader. A tall man with metal eyes. His voice was deep and full of threat. He asked why she came. She said she came to end the fight before it started. She said the galaxy had seen enough war. He laughed. He said war brings order, power, control. She said power is not control. Power is change. Then she stepped forward. Her body glowed again. Not with force, but with light. She showed them her strength, her peace. Not from weapons, but from something inside. Systems failed. Lights dimmed. The enemy leader stepped back. He saw what she was. Not a soldier, not a weapon, a symbol. Force born from two worlds. He gave the order. The fleet turned away. Alira and Ethan returned to the capital. The people cheered. The council stood in silence. Alira looked at them and said she would lead, not with fear, but with truth. With unity, they gave her the crown.
Ow.
In the days that followed, the story of Alira and Ethan spread across many systems. Some called it a miracle, some called it evolution. But one thing was clear. A human had given his blood to save an alien. And together, they had changed the future. Ethan stayed on Elvaris, did not take any title. He walked the gardens. He helped in the hospitals. He was happy to be quiet, but his name lived in songs, in stories, in classrooms. He had become a legend. Not for power, not for war, but because he chose to save a life. And that was enough to change everything.